Today's game is part of the Carlton and United Breweries 1992 AFL Premiership season.
Essendon continuing their marvellous record against St Kilda and running out winners despite only kicking 1 goal 3 in the final term, 16-15 to 11-7. Kickett and Salmon each booted 3 for the Bombers. McAdam, Devonport, Cogwin and Bowie 2 apiece for the Saints. And in other matches played today, Footscray were big winners over a very disappointing Adelaide. Footscray 22-11, 143, of which the Bairnsdale boomer Brian Royal booted 6. Adelaide 8-56, most disappointing for them. Collingwood and Richmond. Collingwood welcomed back with open arms Peter Dacos, and he booted 7. Savario Rocker got 6, and Collingwood demolished Richmond 24-17 to 14-14. Carlton also had a very happy day, 27-17, 179, particularly Steve Kernahan, who booted 9. The Brisbane Bears, 12 goals 8.
Time now to check the CUB AFL 1992 Premiership Season League ladder.
And things have tightened up, particularly at the top of the ladder with what has gone on today. Geelong and Footscray on top of the ladder. The Cats at number 1 because of percentage, then Footscray. Collingwood is in outright 3rd spot, then the West Coast Eagles after their win on Friday night. St Kilda, a couple of little hiccups there, and Hawthorn holding on to 6th spot. And out of the 6 at the moment, Carlton, Fitzroy, and now Essendon starting to knock on the door. But there's certainly plenty of news behind the scenes in the world of football. To find out all about that, we'll be talking to Scott Palmer right after this break.
Ralph, got a minute?
Yeah, sure. Let it fly, mate. Oh, sorry.
Huh?
Bad joke.
What does extinct mean?
It means we don't exist anymore. Well, we used to be just endangered.
Australia's animals are under threat. So to mark our 175th birthday, Westpac has released this special collection of wildlife medallions to raise money for the Worldwide Fund for Nature.
Dead.
They're available through any Westpac branch.
Branch. What I wouldn't give to be back in a branch.
SIO?
It's true.
SIO provide a free local taxi to get you home or to your next appointment. It's free with SIO comprehensive insurance.
Don't worry, Mrs. Bennett. We've got everything under control.
Insurance as it should be.
Looking for a fully imported family car? Then, hey, we're making a Mazda ad.
Compare it with the Subaru Liberty GX.
But this has central locking, standard air conditioning, a 3-year warranty.
The Liberty GX has all those features and almost 20% more power.
Yeah, but for how much?
Oh, about $1,500 less than a 626.
That much?
Subaru Liberty GX. Nothing else stacks up.
In a world where quality of life depends on how neighbors behave, one place is different. Different because of its greatest asset, isolation. An asset to enrich the lifestyle of a people, secure in the promise this abundance of quality processed foods is from one of the safest environments on Earth. Foods that come from a world on its own. Australian foods. Quality that's in a world of its own.
Attention all movie lovers. For a short time only at Movieland, all movies are half price on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, including all the latest releases. Now that's entertainment. That's Movieland.
We'll entertain you.
The $100,000 cash carnival continues in this week's Sunday Herald Sun. To get in on the action, you must get the Double Your Money coupon in tomorrow's paper. That's right. Tomorrow you can double your total carnival cash in the Sunday Herald Sun. Remember, $100,000 must be won. So don't just sit there in limbo. Join in the $100,000 cash carnival and double your money. Only in tomorrow's Sunday Herald Sun.
Never before seen material in the special edition of Steven Spielberg's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, starring Bob Hoskins, 8:30 Wednesday on 7.
A deadly double cross, a stolen chalice, a priest in danger. Can Father Dowling and Sister Steve escape a killer? All new Father Dowling Mysteries tonight on 7.
Well, to find out what's making news behind the scenes in the world of football, we always go to one man from the Sunday Herald Sun, Scott Palmer. Good evening, Scotland.
Good evening, Sandy.
Scotty, this I think is going to sound a bit tonight like a medical report. I want to start with St Kilda, and I believe they have a major injury problem.
Yes, Big Stewie Lowe has done his AC joint in the shoulder, Sandy, and will not be able to play for Victoria on Tuesday night and be out from the States the Saints for about 2 or 3 weeks. It's a big blow for the state selectors, who are sort of panicking tonight trying to find a replacement for he and Gavin Brown, the Collingwood champion, who's got strained abdominal muscles, and he won't play against Adelaide too.
Well, that's not only bad news for the state, but it's bad news for their respective clubs. Just while we're on St Kilda, Tony Lockett, 1 kick today.
1 kick, it was out of bounds. The last time he was held scoreless was back in round 7, 1988, against the West Coast Eagles. It was a rainy day out there in Perth, and he kicked 1 point, and the Saints got beat by 76. So it goes a long way, but he was well held today, and Kevin Sheedy should be praised for playing the man in the hole, Dean Wallace. The toad in the hole, we called him out there today.
Sounds like a mystery novel, The Man in the Hole.
Between David Flood and Dean Wallace, they just cut off any avenue of goal for Tony, and it was one of the big ploys of Kevin Sheedy, and he praised Dean today because Dean's been under a lot of pressure. A lot of people have been maligning him, but he did the job today. 14 marks.
Collingwood and Richmond. Collingwood were big winners, and Lee Matthews very happy with Severio Rocker up forward.
He said, probably, Sandy, we've got the player who looks the best overhead we've had for years. He kicked 6 goals today. Dacos fed off him well, kicked 7. And Lee was very, very pleased. He said the running game came back to the Magpies today. And even Nell and Jean said afterwards it was an answer. They couldn't find an answer to the Collingwood running players like McGuan.
Yeah, Carlton were also big winners, Scotty. I know that Steve Kernahan booted 9, but all has not been well with him in recent weeks.
David Parkin divulged after the match today that he's been playing for the last couple of weeks with a serious injury. Now, he wouldn't divulge it because it's a club secret. But I know it's going to cause Graham Corn some concern because he's wondering whether Stephen will be right for that State of Origin match for South Australia. Stephen Parkin said has matured fantastically over the last year, both on and off the field, and an exceptional leader. And, of course, new boy Ben Robertson today, he played with a broken bone in his foot as well. So Carlton had a few problems, but they did well today.
While we're on the subject of injuries, South Australia are going to have a few problems judging what came out of the Crows match today.
Sean Wren hurt his groin, and Mark Micken has got a driving muscle injury. So they look to be doubtful for that state game too. And, of course, Tony McGuinness pulled out of the game before the match with a hamstring. But Terry Wheeler, he was delighted. He said, my 3 boys, Scott Wynd, Darren Baxter and Chris Grant, they all play well and they should be picked to play for Victoria too.
Time is running out, but quickly, Chris Grant, this is social notes now. Yes, Chris Grant, what's he doing tonight?
Well, he's taking his girlfriend Kelly down to the big ball at the World Congress Centre. It could be a big day because he could be picked in the side tomorrow to play for Victoria, and he's hired a limo to get Kelly to the ball.
Scotty?
Keep punching, Sandy.
I certainly shall, and you too. Thank you very much, Scott Palmer from the Sunday Herald Sun. That just about wraps it up for today. But, of course, football continues on 7 tomorrow and next week. Tomorrow at the SCG could be a real danger game, this one for Fitzroy, who've had a couple of hiccups in recent weeks. Sydney plays the Roys, that is at the SCG. So I hope you can join us for that one tomorrow. Now, let's look ahead. Next week, well, what a big game it's going to turn out to be now. St Kilda and Footscray. Hawthorn plays Carlton. That also will be big. Geelong, Melbourne, North Melbourne, Richmond. And on Saturday night, Brisbane and Collingwood. So that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed it and hope you can join us for Sportsworld.
ACV Insurance with Aussie Assist and Emergency Home Assist.
The Summer Olympics, soon on the 7 Network.
In both the NRMA and Motor Magazine Awards, Mitsubishi recently won the important Best Family Sedan category with the new TR Magna. NRMA's road test engineer Bob Hudson justified selecting the Magna in a category previously dominated by Ford and Holden by saying the TR Magna imparted a feeling of class and solidity in the way it looked and drove that put it ahead of the pack.
We want to show you how good our service really is.
They were great. They installed them, and the next thing I know, they were on the phone to make sure we were happy.
Okay, and when would you like to have your service connected?
I was pleasantly surprised. They turned up on the dot.
Can I have your address, please?
Well, they were professional. I was really impressed.
We could have that service connected for you tomorrow if you would like.
And your surname, sir? Good morning, Telcom Residential Service. Christine speaking. Have you heard about our easy call services?
I know you love our telephones. Press the recall button, okay?
Thanks very much.
Good afternoon, Telecom Business Account.
We just want to give you the service you're looking for.
Most of us throw kitchen scraps straight into the garbage. That's a terrible waste. Be a compost maker and give your scraps and garden waste back to the earth so it can have a feed too. Be smart, play your part.
G'day. I reckon cycling's really good for me. Recycling, though, is great for everybody.
That's right. Recycling our waste helps keep Australia beautiful and it helps the economy keep in better shape too. OK, the only good rubbishing Australia gets is recycled rubbish. Now, rubbish collection and recycling, get on to your local council and get on with helping our environment
and the economy. It really isn't hard to keep Australia beautiful. See you later.
It's a Berber bonanza at Solomon's, and this luxurious Pune wool Berber is an absolute bargain.
Yes, Solomon's price for this sensational heavy-duty pure wool carpet is now only $75 a metre.
There's more.
This brand new level loop wool blend Berber is just $65 a metre. And this Easy Care Berber is a super budget beater at a mere $55 a metre.
And at Solomon's you can buy now and pay in October. Really?
Wherever you're home, we're as close as the phone. Shop at home with Solomon's.
And if you've just joined us, then welcome. It's time now to talk football on Sportsworld. And firstly, let's check out the winners so far in round 16. We've got Fitzroy and Sydney still to play at the SCG today. The West Coast on Friday night by 22 points. Bit of a struggle over a tough Demon outfit. Footscray easily by 87 points. Essendon by 28. Carlton by a whopping 99. Collingwood by 63 points. And Hawthorn just eclipsing the Cats at Kardinia Park by 19 points as we check the ladder.
Now it's time to check the CUB AFL ladder.
And with some of the results from yesterday, things starting to get a little tighter at the top. Geelong there on percentage, followed by Footscray, Collingwood in third spot, the West Coast, St Kilda in fifth, and Hawthorn hanging on to sixth position. Out on percentage, Carlton and Fitzroy on match ratio as well, with Essendon being perhaps the sleeper that's just starting to awaken. Adelaide, such disappointment after their walloping yesterday. But they're our leaders, Geelong and Footscray. Now let's have a look at some of the highlights from round 16. I said it was a tough Melbourne outfit that hit the West Coast Eagles in Perth on Friday night. Indeed it was. Harding in trouble, forced to leave the ground. Langdon takes advantage of an error. Down towards Brown. Down to Kardinia Park, and David Minch almost loses his head.
Doesn't go long. A chip in towards full forward. Dunstall.
Jason Dunstall heading towards his 100. Went into the game yesterday at Kardinia Park with 95 goals. Needed 5 yesterday, and in the end it proved to be all too easy.
Be number 100. Well, this is a soda for his 100th. Leans back. Straight through the middle, 100 goals, Jason Dunstall.
Joy for the Hawks, but at the other end of the ground, frustration for Geelong.
Yes, he was edged out.
Dunstall again. His marking power yesterday was just great. Gary Ablett had a time down at full back, but to no avail.
Kick it. Well, that's classical stuff.
The Bombers far too good for the Saints.
Kick it.
And isn't he an exciting player?
Off the left, right to the goal line. Wangan
and through.
Carries the pack for a goal. What a player, Derek Kickett. They go in towards a full forward line, St Kilda. Low in front.
And more trouble here for St Kilda. Stuart Lowe, look at him grab that left shoulder. And I'll check with Scott Palmer, the latest on that shortly. Now have a look at this mark. Probably never heard Don Scott restricted to one word like that. Oh, but he was on that particular occasion. Collingwood and Richmond, well, Peter Dacos returned for the Maggies. And returned in style. He booted 7. Here's Rowe. On the boundary line, gets the hand pass across to his lookalike in Dacos. And despite it being under pressure, puts it through. Didn't deter the umpire, though. Carlton had a field day against the Bears yesterday. Steve Kernahan, there's been a bit of an injury cloud over him in recent weeks. It certainly didn't appear to be the case yesterday. Fine leadership, he booted 9. Footscray back on track. Adelaide don't have a bad record at Waverley Park, but it certainly wasn't helped yesterday. Here's Grant, a very exciting young player. Could get a state call up, who knows? We'll check on that shortly as well with the boys.
And he's got the goal. And into the goal square. Royal, can he make it?
Brian Royal, employed by Footscray to kick goals. But he does it pretty well.
About the scoreboard, they're just going on with it. Atkins overruns it. Oh, Royal, will he get another one?
Finished the day with 6.
In front he has. Choco's got 6.
Here's fine performance. Now, reports out of the round so far. Craig Devonport, 2 St Kilda players here. Devonport on a charge of tripping and Kickett on a striking charge, both against Essendon, namely Mercury and Somerville. Now we'll check the interstate headlines, see what's making news around the country today. Well, over in the Sunday Times, they're not too concerned about the injury plight of Guy McKenna. They believe that perhaps he will miss only 1 week with that groin problem. In Adelaide, the Sunday Mail, well, that sums it up. Pain but no gain as the Crows cop an absolute thumping yesterday. And locally, in the Sunday Herald Sun, we find that Jason Dunstall stole the headlines with his century of goals. Magnificent performance. OK then, plenty to catch up on, and of course we go to the Sunday Herald Sun, and Scotty Palmer, you've done it again. A treat, haven't you, Scott?
Big news today, Sandy.
Well, it's like a medical report as far as the state team is concerned. Now, firstly, is Tony Lockett going to play?
He withdrew from the side this morning. He turned up at the MCG and told them that he was very ill. He'll have blood test tomorrow for glandular fever. He's gone straight home to bed, will not play for Victoria. Quite a shock for the selectors down there this morning. Might be quite a shock for Saints fans too. What about Lowe? Lowe's out with a AC joint in the shoulder. Brown's out with abdominal muscles. Salmon is okay, which is good news because he'll probably play full forward now. There's a big doubt over Mick McGuan, who's got some groin problems. We'll probably tell them tomorrow how he's pulled up. But it wasn't going to leave anyone to play. No, they're going to meet at 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon at the MCG to have a look at the Swans game and see who's left, Sandy. What about Barry Mitchell? Well, Barry Mitchell, they're going to watch him. They're hoping he can get 30-odd kicks against the Lions up there in Sydney today. But isn't there some cloud hanging over? Well, of course, it's a very funny one, the fact that he is a suspended player, playing because he's taken out an injunction against the AFL, but the AFL have seen in their wisdom giving him permission to play. So if he's picked... I believe that Mr. State Football, it was not a happy camper this morning. Is bluing like the proverbial down there at the MCG over the possibility that the Adelaide team may play Tony McGuinness, who didn't play yesterday because of hamstring. He feels that there's a little plot to get him into that State of Origin team, and he's demanding AFL action. He said, we can't do it. If a player pulls out on Saturday, he can't play on the State of Origin match. He said, I just believe that the South Australians are going to do this. He's talking to team managers and talking to the AFL. He said, this can't happen. He does get a bit animated over State football, doesn't he? He was fuming today. Well, apparently it can't happen anyway, can it? Well, under Victorian laws it can't. Right. But Kevin Sheehan, the team manager, said, I'm not too sure how it stands with South Australia. They get away with a bit over there. Now, don't be too harsh on them. Heck, Peter McKenna, you know that famous singer? Yes. I believe has been doing some secret work out at Victoria Park. Yes, secretly trialling Sav Rocker down at the Victoria Park. In singing? No, in taking the hook out of the kick. And Collingwood let it slip this morning, Sandy, when I was talking to them. They weren't going to say anything, but McKenna's been teaching Sav how to kick the ball well. Kicked six today, and they believe he's right on target to become a real goal sneak down at Victoria Park. Very Rocker. Just in closing, we'll have the family section. Mr. and Mrs. Langford? Langford's got a cracked rib by all accounts too, but he turned up for medical inspection today. Eleanor, 9.5-pound baby boy, William Jamison, and is resting well. Little Billy Langford. Excellent. Any further news? Well, Chris Grant could get in the side today. Had to leave the big Footscray ball early last night. A little bit of a stomach upset. He had to take a drug test at Waverley. He had to have 4 bottles of soft drink and a couple of beers to sort of put it in the bottle. and had to get home early. But he'll be right if he's ever called upon to play for Victoria.
You're as subtle as a stepmother's kiss, aren't you? We'll
Good on
take
you,
a break.
Sandy.
Keep punching, Scotty. We'll be back with the boys shortly.
Seriously cool.
They say he's never heard the word no.
A date with danger.
They better be making soup in there.
Full House plus Dinosaurs tonight on 7.
G'day. You know, most people think that I only use a boat for fishing, but I like all kinds of water sports like skiing. He's fine-looking athlete, and of course, sailing's a breeze. Look at that beauty. You can discover boating too at the boat show at the exhibition building. There's all sorts of attractions, and you could win 2 His and Hers Savage Scorpion boats powered by Mercury on Dunbeer trailers worth 36 grand. Check the Herald Sun for details, and hurry to the exhibition building.
We start with a cylinder of space-age technology, matched to flawless domes, dura-enamelled for longer life, to create the world's finest water heater. Hardy Ducks, the new generation hot water. Every one of our heaters has an adjustable thermostat to save hot water and your money. It's the best thing ever to happen to hot water. Hardy Ducks, the new generation hot water.
Crafts of Philadelphia dip. It's the dip to make your taste buds flip. Philadelphia dip. Let your taste buds flip. Philadelphia dip. Dip, dip, Philadelphia dip.
At Kraft, we blend great tasting ingredients together with smooth, soft Philadelphia cream cheese to give you great tasting dips.
Crafts of Philadelphia dip. Let your taste buds flip. Philadelphia dip.
A lube service, electronic tune-up and a complete safety inspection bumper to bumper is normally $149.50. This month, we'll do it for only $99 plus parts. That's right, $99. Try us. We'll prove how good we are. Call now and have your car serviced at your home, the office or wherever. All parts and labour are guaranteed for 3 months. Call 690-7177 now and have Lubemobile come to you.
Kick on to Kmart for AFL gear. Replica players jumpers, Kmart price $49.95. Boys replica jumpers, just $39.95. AFL team shorts, $12.95. And little fans can show their colours too. Kmart price $25.95. Full-size footies and team colours, $19. Get the AFL's finest now, cause
we've got it.
And we've got it.
At a Kmart price, we've got it.
On Tonight Live, we've had them all. We've had wingers and swingers, scouts and louts, even Barnsey and Barnsey. We've had strippers and vippers, gigglers and wrigglers, but we've never had wrestlers until now. That's right, coming up, the return of the grunters and groaners on Tonight Live.
Some call it the animal hour, I tend to call it the panel, and it's great to be back with them once again. Bobby Davis. Bob, welcome, and you've been busy with the calculator for those with a bit of a trivia in their veins.
Yes, Sandy, at half-time yesterday, the 5 leading teams, their scores were Footscray 10-4, Essendon 10-7, Carlton 10-7, Collingwood 10-8 and Hawthorn 10-7.
So
that was
what?
well, 3 points, the leading team.
Absolutely amazing.
Well, I thought it was too, Ron. It's just like having 3 umpires.
Ronald, good morning.
Well, I'd like to make a little comment on the South Australian attitude towards McGuinness. If they're keen enough to put their best team in, because some players are unable to play on one Saturday, could play on the Tuesday, and could play on the Saturday. That is physically possible. So if McGuinness is in that category, good on South Australia for being keen enough to want to win the match. So I think Teddy Whitten is wrong on this one if he's saying they shouldn't be able to do it. It is not an Australian Football League ruling that has anything to do with this match. This is Victoria wanting to put on their best. And if we have this attitude where, hey, if you can't play Saturday, you can't play on the Tuesday, you can't play next Saturday, which I think is rubbish, and it's only put there to stop skullduggery and have some sort of semblance of a chance. You know, I think
we appear to be having quite a bit of skullduggery here in Victoria,
Ron, instead of voicing your opinion here?
Why is that?
Well, I mean, you're selectors, you should keep it in club.
I don't think it's selectors matter. I think it's to do with all of football, this sort of thing.
Would you say it's a fair advantage with having Graham Corns as the coach of the Crows and South Australia to allow one of his players to do it?
I don't think it's got anything to do... Oh, yes, it would be. Yes, but it's really got nothing to do with the principle of what I'm talking about. If they're keen enough, good on them, I reckon.
All right, we'll just wait and see. Now that you gentlemen have all introduced yourselves so marvellously well, Peter McKenna. Now, I must ask you, Pete, I listened to you and Dennis on Friday night, and you were both very, very critical of the umpiring.
Yes, well, the first thing I want to say, and I'll say it quickly, is where's Bruce? He owes me money, seeing I backed Hawthorn again to beat Geelong. I've beaten him again. Where is he?
The state.
And secondly, well, I do want to say something about umpiring. We're not here to umpire bash, but I've seen...
Stop talking.
Now, hang on. 2 weeks in a row. Now, I know Wayne Schimmelbusch was dying to say something 2 weeks ago, North Melbourne and St Kilda. There are far too many wrong decisions being made, and I think the game is being far too over-umpired at the moment. On Friday night, there were 78 free kicks given, which is absolutely ridiculous, and a lot of them were very, very wrong. And it's time we thought about ex-league footballers taking up umpiring, and I mean that because once you've been out in the hurly-burly of the contest, you know what's a real free kick.
And your umpires today, umpires Scott and McKenna.
Yeah, one exception, I would never have Don Scott as an umpire.
Umpire Kelvin Moore then. Kel, you saw the Maggies yesterday.
I did, yes, and it's a little wonder that the AFL want to move the Collingwood's games to the MCG when possible, because there was 31,000 people there and it was just chaotic trying to get in and out of the place, and whilst the Collingwood people love their little home ground, it's certainly not fair on the opposition who may want to go and have a look.
Timothy, Adelaide and Footscray, that's a disappointing performance by the Crows.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I watched Adelaide play last Friday night, and they were pretty good last Friday night, but yesterday they were very disappointing. But Footscray seemed to find it a bit of form. They'd lost a couple of close games, but I'm very impressed with the young players. Young Frost is going to be a very good player, and Cretty is a good player too, and they've got a very bright future for Footscray.
They were hoping for a cat attack down at Cardinia Park yesterday. I believe this morning there was one at Sorrento.
Yes, there was one in
Hold
Sorrento.
Up your hands. You're an extraordinary man.
Fang, my son's cat, attacked me. I had to put him inside. Have you ever tried to catch a cat by the tail and then be violently attacked?
Looked like it bled all over his strides too.
It did, I could tell. He scratched me everywhere. But he's under the house. I just left him under the house.
Why not just leave him?
Well, I suppose I could have too, but he had to be in the house. I had to go back in the house.
All right, and everything's fine at the TAB, is it?
It is, yes.
Marvellous. All right, let's talk more football now, because Ben Allen is our special guest from Hawthorn. Ben, welcome to Sports World. What is it you've got over Geelong? I mean, there's like this huge barrier, and it's getting bigger.
Well, I don't think you can say that, Sandy. We just were committed for the ball yesterday, and it really was a crunch game for us. Geelong, I guess, were on top of the ladder and sitting pretty. But if we didn't win yesterday, we were certainly well down in the ladder, so it was a crunch game for us. Were you expecting them perhaps to have maybe a bit of a downer, considering their hard week they had just prior against Footscray? Yeah, certainly they've against Footscray, that was a top of the table clash, and that would have a lot of energy would have been used in that game for them. But again, it was just a crunch game for us. We just had to win, and fortunately we did. Before I throw you to the Wolves, I'll ask Ron for his votes, which he will give us immediately, and then we'll go on with proceedings.
Thank you very much, Andy. Yes, my votes were 3 for Dunstall. I thought he was absolutely magnificent yesterday. He played exceptionally well, 9 goals. Sometimes that, well, it doesn't necessarily mean you play a superb game, but Jason did. And I think he was matched also by Pritchard on the wing. He gave relentless drive, particularly had a great second quarter, about 14 possessions in the one quarter from memory. And it's a pity that it's silly that I have to give him 1/3 less or a half less votes than Dunstall. That is just stupid. But that's the 3-2-1 system which we talked about before. And I gave him a third vote, as you just saw, and it's disappeared now into the film, for Condon.
Sorry, you keep going on, or was it finished?
Well, I was going to say that there was a terrific drive from midfield, and our guest this morning had a lot to do with it. You played pretty well. Ben, you'd be pretty pleased with your game? Yeah, thanks, Ron. I was left on the wing all day and pretty much didn't have a role or a job to do on any particular player. So Alan Joyce has told me to play on the wing and try and help
the loss that I guess John Platt and no, he wasn't in the team, so we had to
Do you enjoy that bit of freedom?
Yeah, it was good on the wing, you know, rather than, you know, being restricted to try and restrict an opponent. It was good being on the wing and getting a bit of run there.
Ben, it seems to be that Scotty McGuinness has really picked up the last couple of weeks and hit a purple patch. That must be tremendous for his confidence and the side as well.
Yeah, he certainly played well against the Bears last week in what was a pretty, I guess, disappointing game for us, although we won. And yesterday he played very well as well, so he's a great mark and he runs well off the half-back line, so I hope he can continue that.
Ben, was the position on the ladder quite as serious against Brisbane as it was yesterday, and yet there was a tremendous lift in the form?
Yeah, well, the last 10 minutes against Brisbane, we played pretty well to get from 4 goals down into a winning position. So we tried to pick up from where we left off last week and continue that throughout the whole match because.
And you started in the same vein, obviously, yesterday as you finished off.
Well, that's what we tried to do. We talked about that before the game, and we thought if we could start as we finished last week, we'd be right.
Being the condition of VFL Park in recent weeks, has it been a pleasure to get away from it, I suppose, to go to Queensland and down to Geelong? Has it been, a bit of a hindrance to the side?
Well, we've been haven't been training that hard during the week to sort of compensate that, for the heavy grounds, but it was good. Geelong was in good condition last week, and Brisbane's obviously a hard ground, but Waverley's obviously heavy on the legs, so hopefully it'll improve.
2 players that are important for Hawthorn, Ben. One, Paul Deere. How did he go?
I thought he did very well, particularly he's missed so many matches. He started off, I guess, slowly, and as the game progressed, he played really well.
And the other, Chris Langford, who has been out of form, played at centre-half forward against the Bears last week. Where did he play and how did he go?
I thought he did very well. He played full-back again. He's, got a sort of a sore rib there, so that obviously isn't helping, but I don't think he's been playing as badly as everyone's been saying. He perhaps his teammates haven't been helping him out back there in the back line, which is obviously a difficult position to play at full-back, but I think he's going well. He's an important player for us.
Ben, for about the 5th year in a row, the scribes are written Hawthorn off again, except yours truly, of course, but does Alan Joyce...
You are a paid professional public relations
I'm not
expert.
paid. I just admire the club.
Oh,
I think they're the best side in the competition. Does Alan Joyce ever use that as ammunition? Because really, he's got a heck of a lot of it there, hasn't he?
Not really. I think it gets down to the players and the pride and they have in themselves. You have players like Gary Ayres and Langford have been around the club for so long, and they haven't just played one good season. They've played there up to 10 years, and so it gets down to the personal pride, and those guys are full of it, so they don't like losing, and I guess that's what it gets down to.
I think this is the key, Sandy, to Hawthorn's continued success, because if you look at the sides that are on the ball for a particular year, everyone says, well, it's hunger driving them on. They really want their first premiership for 5 years or 10 years, or in the case of Collingwood a couple of years ago, 30 years. But here's Hawthorn having to do it year after year, and it's when you think about it, it's no wonder they have a lapse now and again in the hunger. And that was certainly evident yesterday. They're really very, very desperate for the ball. So it's human, isn't it, when you think about it, that they occasionally drop off. Even the Mighty Hawks drop off.
It's not a plot, then, Ron, that they do have a flat spot in the middle of the season. It's not a deliberate ploy.
I wouldn't think so.
Well, on the other hand...
Is it, Ben?
No, definitely not. We obviously try and win every game, don't we?
Yeah, no, but you train us hard in the middle of the season.
Well, it's
or is there a gradual now lift in your intensity?
Never train hard to win.
Answer, will you?
Boggy.
What?
Is this a question or a statement?
Down in the middle?
No, I'm
It's a
asking
short story.
Ron.
Well, you always drop down in the middle of a season with your training, if you can, because it's heavy, boggy, and you're pretty fit anyway. What's the point of thrashing them? Then you slowly build up.
And is this the build-up now, Ron?
Well, not quite yet, I wouldn't think.
Oh.
Another couple of weeks.
Well, you can ask Ben.
Well, I tried to ask Ben, but Ron answered it for me.
Is it, Ben?
Well, it's just basically great incentive to win because, if you lose, you sort of get flogged on the track, don't you?
Do you?
Yeah,
What about Dermy, Ben? How long?
Well, he's been running a bit the last few weeks, so hopefully he'll be back. He'll be an important player for us to get back.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. And Ben, to you and Hawthorn, good luck.
Thanks, Andy.
We wish you well for the remainder of the season. We'll take a break and be back to continue this in-depth panel discussion shortly.
Presenting the Olympic coverage, Coca-Cola. You can't beat the feeling.
Joining our Olympic athletes in Barcelona is another team, just as dedicated and just as committed to the pursuit of excellence. A team of sporting experts, many of them Olympic champions in their own right, who will bring you the most comprehensive television coverage ever. Bruce McAvaney heads the 7-network commentary team for the 92 Barcelona Olympics.
There is nothing greater.
Look, Spotlight's winter sale catalogue has just hit the streets. Hurry for printed winter twills, $1.99 a metre. A sellout of our luxury winter fabrics from $8.99 a metre. Indian cotton drapes, $10 a drop. And beautiful heavyweight tapestries, $19.95 a metre. There's a $1 million stock sellout on bedding. Quilt cover sets from $37. Sheet sets from $47. Stencils, a great range from $1.95. And the crayons, $4.95 each. And more. So rush into Spotlight's winter sale now.
When we want to get our carpet really clean, we wash them with our Vax 3-in-1 vacuum cleaner. It's very easy, and the special turbulent washing action gets out all the deep down dirt and grime from carpets and upholstery.
When we want to wash our hard floors, we also use our Vax. And of course, Vax is perfect for regular dry vacuuming.
There's just nothing as good as a Vax.
It's amazing.
No wonder they call it the 3-in-1 cleaning system.
The One, a brand new album from Elton John.
In the instant that you love someone, in the second that
The One, 11 new songs recorded in Paris and London.
all I ever needed.
Elton John, The One, the album, in your store now.
Would you like a really super home? If your home looks like this, wouldn't it be a super idea to make it look like this? Super Home Improvements have been doing quality extensions throughout Melbourne for the past 16 years. They'll design and build your super extension. Phone for a consultant to call and give you a no-obligation fixed-price quote. Prices have never been more competitive.
Our volume pricing, combined with current low interest rates, means that the time to build an extension is now.
Super Home Improvements for quality workmanship. 458 1666.
Welcome back to Sportsworld. Just having a brief discussion during the break on desks. Don. Your boats. You're right.
He's gone.
Well, yesterday I went to a very disappointing game, St Kilda and Essendon. I thought it'd be more of a contest, and St Kilda really never slipped it into overdrive. They seemed to be in second and couldn't get it into top. But one man who did play well, he didn't have an opponent all day, which is really quite remarkable. Dean Wallace. He can do some very good things, but then he undoes himself a little bit with something that he'll do which is just out of the flow of play. But yesterday he kept himself in check, and I thought he played a terrific game. Darren Buick played up the ground and picked up a lot of kicks, but Derek Kickett, to talk about Gary Ablett's ability, I have seen this man do some incredible things. He kicked a magnificent goal, a mark, and a couple of years ago in one quarter at the MCG he took them apart. He has got some unbelievable ability. He's also bringing his teammates into the play. He set up a couple of goals, and he also chased pretty hard, which I haven't seen him do before.
Don, you mentioned Wallace didn't have an opponent all day. Is that fairly ordinary coaching or something from the opposition?
Well, I was going to, yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I watched them a couple of years ago, and Sheedy did exactly the same thing when Lockett was on fire down at Moorabbin. He roamed, it was Ezard and Werner, I think, that day, wasn't it, Tim? They were blocking up, and Danaher was at... Yesterday he did the same thing, but a little bit different, had Wallace just propping in front. Wallace didn't have an opponent. Now, I don't know who the loose man up the ground was, because Nathan Burke was picking up a lot of kicks, as was Harvey. McAdam was also loose at one stage, and I thought Davenport might have been the loose man, but they were predictable in what they were doing, St Kilda. They were obviously getting the ball a lot around midfield, but hitting it long down into the forward line, and Wallace was by himself. Also, it was a courageous effort by Wallace, because with Lockett or Lowe was down there on occasions, he had to stand his ground on a couple of occasions and showed a lot of courage and composure.
Last week I watched St Kilda, and I thought that they layerised a little bit with the ball overuse. They weren't that direct in their play. How did you find them yesterday?
Well, they, on a couple of occasions, I don't suppose they were direct, Tim, but maybe they were forced to go that way because they really didn't have a focal point up forward. Lowe started beside Lowe at Lockett. Lowe started beside Lockett in the forward pocket. They moved them around. Allen was at full forward. Lockett was up the ground on occasions, so they really didn't have much to aim for.
Scotty, could it be that the Saints just aren't used to being up every week? Because every match in today's jungle, you've really got to be up for, otherwise you're in grave danger of losing it.
Well, that's true. It is true, but also they were lucky to get out of it against North Melbourne the week before, so I don't think they're going as well, Ron. And they really do need somebody, well, all teams need someone to fire up forward, and they really didn't have a forward up, who was firing yesterday.
How were Fletcher's been dominating the centre for them? Was he in...
Well, I think he was taken off the bench, if I can remember. He was taken onto the bench at one stage during the game, but he wasn't a bad player. He wasn't a bad player. He was all right, but not a good player.
All right, gentlemen, let's turn our attention now to Footscray and Adelaide. Tim, you were there. How did you go with your votes?
Well, I expected to see a great game, actually, there yesterday, and Adelaide were very disappointing. They went into the game without McGuinness. I think most people probably suspected that his hamstring injury would cause him to miss the game, but I expected them to give a better showing of themselves. Brian Royal, a reborn footballer up there in the forward line, kicked 6 goals, had a hand in another couple of plays, and he's really their focal point up forward. He took a lot of marks in the forward line. Darren Baxter played on the ball, played on Andrew Jarman for quite a bit of the game. Andrew Jarman got taken out of the centre in the end, and he provided a lot of drive. And Grant, who really is a superstar in the making up forward, was a very good young player for Footscray. But Adelaide, as I said, were very disappointing. Rem went off the ground with an injury. Mickham was still on the ground carrying an injury. And perhaps one bright light for Adelaide was young Jonathan Ross. And although he didn't get a lot of the ball yesterday, I think that he's a player in the making. And for Footscray, well, I think they've unearthed a lot of talent, as I said earlier in the day, with Cretchett, Frost. And the thing about these young players coming to their side is that they're not overawed by the situation. They are young players with a handful of games, and they play like seasoned veterans, and that's very good for Footscray for the future.
I take it, Tim, that if you were going to go coaching next year and didn't go to North Melbourne, as is rumoured,
with you, Ron,
you would like to go to a team like Footscray. I'm not talking about, I'm only talking theoretically, because Wheeler's in a very solid position there, of course, but it looks as though they've got a big future for a long while, in your opinion.
I think so. I think that they've used the draft very well in the last 2 or 3 years to get those young players to the club. I mean, Frost is not young by the usual standards. He's 21. He's a reasonably experienced young player coming into a side well built. I think they've got a lot of talent there. They're an exciting side, Footscray, with their forwards too, with Grant up there. Del Rey was pretty quiet yesterday, but he's an exciting player.
A lot of those players would have been there when Malthouse, they would have been drafted then. I think Grant was drafted at that stage when Malthouse was there, Stanfield.
Pretty unusual, Del Rey and Royal, and who else? Colin pretty short.
Well, Collingwood was out of the side yesterday.
And Hawkins, all pretty short, aren't they?
Well, they're not really tall key forwards, but then you look at
that be a lack later on.
Well, I don't know. You look at Jason Dunstall at Hawthorn. Now he's only a 6'1" full forward. I don't think that perhaps Del Rey's in his class, but he still is a good focal point for him up forward.
Tim, I've been very impressed. I know you have too, with Sean Wren. Now, how did that clash eventuate with Scotty Wind?
Well, it was pretty even early, but then Sean Wren injured himself. He went off with a groin injury, and Scott Wine really took over. In the end, Adelaide were undermanned in that position. They had Ingerson in the ruck in the last quarter, so they were struggling in that position.
Right, thank you, Tim. Are you comfortable now, Bob?
Now that Ron's returned my record, yes.
Well, Carlton and Brisbane, what a disappointment for the Bears.
Well, obviously the Bears up at Carrara are those antagonistic grizzly bears from the Yukon, but down here they're stuffed teddy bears from Myers, because they were absolutely disgusting yesterday. But Kernahan returned to his very best form. He got 9 goals, 6, took 15 marks. Dorotich played extremely well wherever he was placed. He kicked the ball beautifully yesterday for them. And Greg Williams in the second and third quarters, even with one arthritic knee, as he's must have, very bad. His playing to position and bringing the Carlton players was excellent besides that, Spalding played a magnificent game. Milhana played a great game. And Robbo's not here this morning, but if he is his nephew or cousin or whatever he is, the young boy Ben Robinson also looked yesterday to play extremely well. As a fairly neat, quick little fellow actually, number 50. But they didn't have very much pressure on them, I must admit that after half-time. The Bears really fell apart. Roger Merritt's not in great touch just at the moment, and in fact, I don't suppose there were too many of them in great touch yesterday, apart from Steve McCluckey.
He's a good player, isn't he?
Not quite a good player, and Noonan, who blanketed Bradley, for most of the game.
What about the smaller players in Ashcroft, Clark?
No, unfortunately, yesterday at Princess Park, not there at all.
Well, Bob, did it surprise you that Carlton was given so much freedom, seeing that Walls, as coach of Carlton, should have a little bit of insight?
Well, you would imagine that, but obviously his thinking was, messed up in the second half because he had Hutton on him. I don't know whether Hutton was going to take off his helmet and put it over Kernan's eyes so he couldn't see where the ball was coming. That's about the only chance he had.
Probably the Carlton forward line has got fairly tall players in it.
Yes.
One of the problems with the Brisbane Bears is they are undermanned in that tall area. Was that a huge problem for them yesterday?
Well, really, it was in, I suppose, what we would say a sporadic foray into their forward line. It was only by chance that it went there, and really there was no definite method in their game, and it was a very bad day to assess their form yesterday.
Right, thank you, Robert. We shall take a break. Sportsworld continues shortly.
Dad solved the missing pavlova mystery.
Are you sure there isn't anything else we can get for you?
A bucket.
Hey Dad, followed by Home Improvement Wednesday on 7.
Looking for a fully imported family car? Then, hey, we're making a Mazda ad.
Compare it with the Subaru Liberty GX.
But this has central locking, standard air conditioning, a 3-year warranty.
The Liberty GX has all those features and almost 20% more power.
Yeah, but for how much?
Oh, about $1,500 less than a 626.
That much?
Subaru Liberty GX. Nothing else stacks up.
Strathfield says yes! Buy now and pay later with no deposit, no interest and no repayments till November. Save on the widest range of cellular phones from only $589. And when you connect to Telecom Mobile Net, you could win one of 5 Nissan Patrols or one of 50 Amstrad computers. So who gives you no deposit, no interest and no repayments till November?
Kick on to Kmart for AFL gear. Replica players jumpers, Kmart price $49.95. Boys replica jumpers just $39.95. AFL team shorts $12.95. And little fans can show their colours too. Kmart price $25.95. Full-size footies and team colours $19. Get the AFL's finest now, cause
we've got it.
And we've got it.
At a Kmart price, we've got it.
Only one place can really light your fire.
Only you can make all this world seem right. Only you and you alone can thrill me like you do, and to fill my heart with love.
Would you like a really super home? If your home looks like this, wouldn't it be a super idea to make it look like this? Super Home Improvements have been doing quality extensions throughout Melbourne for the past 16 years. They'll design and build your super extension. Phone for a consultant to call and give you a no-obligation fixed-price quote. Prices have never been more competitive.
Our volume pricing, combined with current low interest rates, means that the time to build an extension is now.
Super Home Improvements for quality workmanship. 458 1666.
Welcome back to Sportsworld. We're assessing the games from round 16. Of course, it concludes this afternoon when Sydney plays Fitzroy. Peter, the West Coast Eagles and Melbourne on Friday night. We've already heard your thoughts on the umpiring. What about your votes?
Well, as far as the votes went, even though Melbourne lost the game, Sandy, I put 2 of their players in the votes because Gary Lyon, every time he touches the ball, he does something constructive. Tremendous player. Dwayne Lamb gave them a lot of drive around midfield. He was tagging, but That's the best game I've seen him play for a long time. And Jimmy Steins, well, there's no doubt about the big Irishman. He covers that much territory and he's got a huge heart, Steins. He just keeps going. And I want to congratulate Melbourne because they went over there on a mission. They didn't win the game, but they had a red-hot go for the whole game. They were absolutely terrific. They went in hard, they tackled, they were committed, and it put a lot of the West Coast players off their game because the West Coast like to get that running game going and the loose man and the bounce of the ball, and Melbourne didn't allow them to. You can see Viney there in the packs doing all that heavy work. He did it all night. They were absolutely
Anybody
terrific.
duck back, Peter? During
Yeah,
the
a
game?
couple of duck backs. Peter Sumich ducked back a couple of times and for goals, but
Could you take his hook out of his kicking, Peter?
I had a fee.
Yes.
Yes.
At a fee?
Yes.
No, I think you could.
But would you want to?
Well,
we wouldn't because
well, not
we're
against Victoria,
Victorians.
but Peter Sumich, look, he's got enormous talent, and he's one of my favourite players
Must be
to
stats,
watch.
you reckon?
But he does miss too many shots for goal. He hooks them every one out of two.
Don't you reckon that he must be lack a bit of self-discipline? Because don't tell me Mickey Malthouse wouldn't have talked about running in a straight line, a very
Well-
basic thing, and yet he doesn't do it.
Well, I agree with you, but I can't comment it because I just don't know how hard he works at his kicking during the week.
But we can see that he doesn't work hard. If he runs in a crooked line, he's not working hard.
but he's
But everybody hooks the ball, Ron. You don't run in a perfectly
He's
straight
a
line.
lot of left footers tend to hook the
Not
ball,
a
but
perfectly straight. Must be
No.
Peter, while we're on full forwards, what's your assessment of the guy that was at the other end for Melbourne?
well, Darren Bennett's been a disappointing player in my book. He's 6'5", and I just don't think he works hard enough, and he's got more ability than he's showing. A few times I even called out when I was commentating on Friday night, lead for the ball when players were coming down the ground, and he just waited back in the goal square. But
It appeared to take the captain to go up and give him a rev there at one stage, is it?
well, look, I'm not exactly sure that's what was happening, but it seemed to be happening. That Gary Lyon was ticking him off at one stage, but I thought if Djakovic had been playing Alan Djakovic, I honestly think that Melbourne could have won that game. But it was promising for the future for Melbourne at least, and John Northey would take a bit of heart out of that.
Right, thank you, Pete. Kel, Collingwood and Richmond, and your votes.
Yes, I went for the main architect on yesterday's performance was Mickey McGuan again, enjoying a great season. I gave 2 to Tony Francis, who explosive pace and now has great support from Rowe as a roving duo and a very dangerous duo at that. And I gave Gary Pert, who gave an excellent performance across half-back, and of course he has moved back onto Hogg and looked dangerous and kicked forward and shut him right out of the game. But that's the first goal of the game. It was in the first from the first bounce, and that was the story of the game. It was catch-up football, unfortunately, for the Tigers. They were forced to kick in a very strong breeze in the first term. Collingwood piled on 4 goals before they even ventured into the Richmond forward line. And although they fought back very hard throughout the game, got within 8 points, I think, at one particular stage. Collingwood were always in control, and Gavin Brown was another one of those runners. And one facet which really impressed me yesterday was the fierce tackling of the Collingwood side. I think they had something like 43 tackles, effective tackles, to 15 Richmond. And in fact, I think Kerrison was the main contributor there with 8, which is sort of half of the Richmond total. So I think that's been a facet or part of the army which has got them through a lot of those tight games in recent weeks.
Could you see some of Jeans's work in the Richmond team?
You asked me that last time I went to Richmond.
Well, I like to see you.
Yes, once again, there's all those things getting in the vision.
Is it improving?
I think so. There's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. Players like Maxwell, McQueen, Gale, of course, and Francis, they all show something. But unfortunately, there's a bit of genes come through in Matthews coaching, and they just did it a little bit better and more often.
Kel, Tony Shaw usually picks up the main prime mover of the opposition side. Who did he pick up yesterday?
Oh, well, they swapped around that much, I couldn't really tell you, but he was in the centre and was a very important player and just organises the whole thing when they seem to be under a little bit of pressure. But he probably would have picked up 3 or 4 Lambert, Waitman at different times, but didn't have one player specifically, I should say, for the whole day.
Shane Kerrison, you mentioned about the number of tackles he had, Kel. I've watched him over the pub. Well, the last time I had the game, he doesn't seem to initiate play. Was he initiating any play yesterday?
Yes, he was a good player yesterday because he was minding a couple of the rover-type players and moved up the ground and instigated quite a few moves and slotted in for the short kicks. And, yeah, he was a good contributor throughout, it was a good team performance by Collingwood.
All right, thank you, Kel. Let's now check on the progressive voting from matches played last week, and then we'll look at our leaders. In the game between Melbourne and Fitzroy, Viney got 3 votes. This is courtesy of Ronald Dale, Aruz 2 and Lyon 1. That was a round 15 match last week, as is the Bears Hawthorn, in which the Hawks just got home. Leslie, McGuinness and Troy Clark getting the votes there from Dennis Cometti, and Tim Watson, Geelong and Footscray down at the Cattery, Bairstow, Mansfield and Hawkins getting the votes from Tim. Now, Progressive sees Footscray's Simon Atkins, the leader at the moment, by 3 votes, 18 to his nearest rival, Stuart Lowe, who has 15 votes, and Darren Jarman is on 14. If you want a good read, there is a book out called Just for Kicks. It's under $20. Some lovely white lies in some lovely stories in that. So get it at your nearest bookstore now, and you'll have a good laugh. We'll take a break and be back with Mark of the Week and also Goal of the Week.
The State of Origin, live Tuesday.
From the outback of Australia, you can see the lights of Paris. From Mount Fuji, you can see the skyscrapers of Manhattan. And from the Kansas heartland, you can see the heart of England. You can see it all on United, because our wings now span more than half the world. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.
We start with a cylinder of space-age technology, matched to flawless domes, Duranel for longer life, to create the world's finest water heater. Hardy Ducks, the new generation hot water. Every one of our heaters has an adjustable thermostat to save hot water and your money. It's the best thing ever to happen to hot water. Hardy Ducks, the new generation hot water.
Crafts of Philadelphia dip. It's the dip to make your taste buds flip. Philadelphia dip. Let your taste buds flip. Philadelphia dip. Dip, dip, Philadelphia dip.
At Kraft, we blend great tasting ingredients together with smooth, soft Philadelphia cream cheese to give you great tasting dips.
Crafts of Philadelphia dip. Let your taste buds flip. Philadelphia dip.
It's crazy catalogue sale time at the Furniture Spot, where Oscar gets with 3-piece leather look lounge suites for a crazy $599, or wall units from just $299. Bedside tables an insane $28. They've slashed the price of the 7-piece dinette setting down to $299, and this magnificent bedroom suite also just $299. Where? The Furniture Spot, Heidelberg Road, Fairfield, and High Street, Melton.
Spot on the top value, the Furniture Spot.
A lube service, electronic tune-up and a complete safety inspection bumper to bumper is normally $149.50. This month, we'll do it for only $99 plus parts. That's right, $99. Try us. We'll prove how good we are. Call now and have your car serviced at your home, the office or wherever. All parts and labour are guaranteed for 3 months. Call 690-7177 now and have Lubemobile come to you.
It's time now for Mark of the Week. Thank you, Bob. Here's Peter and Kel.
The Mark of the Week and the Mark of the Year are proudly brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors.
Yeah, straight up to Carrara and Gastev over the top. Great to see number 15 underneath there again.
Well, the match-winning goal for Hawthorn came from this courageous marquee, as usual, from Tony Hall.
Here's a player that just oozes talent, and young Paul Brown up and away and doesn't mess around. Straight off with it, great.
And talking about talent, have a look at this guy, Chris Grant. That is a top-class mark in a pack.
Yes, and Paul Roos enjoys a ride on Jimmy Stein's back, but feeling not mutual by the look of Jimmy there.
Now, one of the most underrated players in the competition, Andrew Obbs, the terrific mark again in a pack situation.
And out we go. Great athleticism to Glenn Jakovic, top mark.
Now, courage needed here. Hocking, back with the flight. Look at that. Hugs it to his chest.
I might throw to Scotty. Give it to us, Scotty. Come on. Ooh, what a top grab.
Now, we've sung the praises of Chris Grant again. Look at this. He really is a promising young player.
Yes, and screams of joy went through the Jack Ryder stand. Here as Gary Pert thrills all the supporters at Collingwood. Top grab on a top game.
The magical Peter Dacos. Have a look at this. only champions continually do this, time and time again, one-handed mark.
And we see Earl Spalding, important player, and a fine, solid one-grab mark out on the wing. And, well, there were some great marks there, Pete. What do you reckon?
That's the best lot of marks we've seen for weeks. And, well, I think we were unanimous, Cal, on Nicky Winmar, and you took plenty of marks standing on my shoulders. I'll let you talk about it.
Thanks, mate. I certainly did. And we'll have another look at it.
I thought you agreed.
An important mark here, because it could have been a sure goal for Essendon, but he just extracts something extra out of those Pumas and pulls in the top mark. No tree stump needed there, Bobby.
All right, thank you, Kel. Yes, and he has joined those players, Bruce McAvaney, Cavidan, Darren Jarman, Todd Ridley, and now Nicky Winmar in round 16. And so we come to goal of the week now with Tim and Don.
The goal of the week and the goal of the year are brought to you by BP. BP, on the move.
Good player last week was that man kicking the goal, Steve McLuckley, a much improved player. And Gary Ablett, who's been out of form, getting this one across and a snap onto his right foot. And Gary, Chris Sullivan, this is something his father couldn't do. Tony, he's a good little player. A lot of speed and a lot of potential. It's a horrible word, potential, though. Darren Cuthbertson on the bounce. So the difficulty in kicking this after you've been running is to steady yourself and to have the poise. And that's a good long goal from Cuthbertson. This man was terrific yesterday. The way he attacked the ball, he fed it off a couple of times in this situation. The guy's running past, but he decided to do it himself. He really didn't look at the goal, but boy, he's a terrific player. So much talent. Derek Kickett. There's a bit of play here by Rocco, the big fellow, showing a lot of manoeuvrability for someone so big and snapping that one back over his shoulder. Rowan Welsh had a day out a couple of weeks ago, taking some big marks in the forward pocket, but here he is now, showing he can kick them on the run, left foot. Don? Well, Tim, I didn't think there was much question about that. What do you think about your teammate, Derek Kickett? As well, he's an absolute superstar, Derek Kickett, and that goal yesterday was as exciting as I think I've seen him kick in the past, that one. Terrific. He did it a couple of weeks ago. Last week it was against, how did they play at the MCG? I forget who it was, but he did. And there were two magnificent goals he kicked that day, and this is no exception. Terrific stuff.
Yes, very exciting player to watch, and let's have a look at the list. He joins Dale Kickett of St Kilda, who won it in round 11, Dean Kemp in 12, David Mensch in 13, Michael Gale 14, and Mr Kickett making it back-to-back victories in goal of the week, round 15 and 16. On the subject of goals, let's have a look now at the goal-kicking ladder as it stands out at the moment. And Jason Dunster with 9 yesterday has passed the ton. 104, marvellous effort. Tony Lockett, goalless yesterday, 85. Steve Kernahan, 9 to move up to 60, surging ahead of Gary Ablett, who spent time at both ends of the ground yesterday. John Longmire, a day off. Danny Delray booted 3. He is on 43. And Richard Osborne is on 42. We've got a couple of games still to come. One in round 16 and a State of Origin match. Quickly, gentlemen, and Bob, that means probably in one word or less, your prediction...
Fitzroy today. Sandy, there you are.
Thank you. Fitzroy Sydney. Pete?
Ruffy, Swans.
I'll go the Roys, just.
I'm going for the Swans. I'm going for Fitzroy, Sandy.
That's interesting, right. Bob, State of Origin, you had a question, did you not?
I wondered actually who's running the State of Origin run. Is it the ANFC, the NFC, or who actually controls football on the state level?
SPC?
I don't know. Is there anybody?
CIA?
I don't know.
Well, someone
must. I think it's the AFL. Of course, someone must. I think it's the AFL.
Just because
come on, what about...
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm not sure either.
Well, it just seems, incongruous that Mitchell, who is suspended, can be suddenly declared to play. McGuinness, who didn't play.
But that's got nothing to do with the AFL.
But also, there's a few other things. Wasn't there about Hawthorn not allowing those two fellows to go across and train over in South Australia, yet they let Langford train here? I think there are a lot of things that our controlling body should look at.
What is the bottom line of it all?
Well, I just wonder if I might put in for the job as president of running the interstate football. Would there be a chance for that, Ron?
Anything you say, Bob, but there's no money.
I could be your boss then.
As long as you bring your own jumper.
Will they be successful on Tuesday night, Victoria, Bob?
Well, I'm not too sure they're going to get a team together yet. We'll know later on in the afternoon. I know you'll get some sort of a team, Ron, but over there it's a very difficult game, isn't it?
Yes, in fact it was only won last year by a terrific effort by all concerned, and it's the only way we'll win again this year is the same sort of commitment.
But we must all say Victoria on this side shouldn't.
We'll have 24 committed players.
South Australia will win.
Oh.
Yes, but of course you had that marvellous career there.
I think South
6
Australia will
games
win.
with South Adelaide. We'll take a break.
Okay.
We thank the panel.
No, that's a surprise.
We still thank the panel. We'll be back shortly.
The race to become the fastest man alive.
I've got a star. Someone who'll give Don Walker a bit of competition. A bit of blood on the track.
Cameron Daddo, the defiant Aussie hero.
I can win, Kane.
Phil Morris, world champion.
I always try to win.
In the premiere mini-series of the year, Optus presents Tracks of Glory, starts tonight.
It's easy to dress up any house and contents insurance package to look the same. Lots of insurance policies promise new for old replacement, but most have severe age limits on contents. 5 years is useless. 10 years is not much better. But SIO's plain English policy is different. There's definitely no age limit, just genuine new replacement, and no need to prove how old things were. For genuine house and contents insurance, call SIO. Insurance as it should be.
When we want to get our carpet really clean, we wash them with our Vax 3-in-1 vacuum cleaner. It's very easy, and the special turbulent washing action gets out all the deep down dirt and grime from carpets and upholstery.
When we want to wash our hard floors, we also use our Vax. And of course, Vax is perfect for regular dry vacuuming.
There's just nothing as good as a Vax.
It's amazing.
No wonder they call it the 3-in-1 cleaning system.
Would you like a really super home? If your home looks like this, wouldn't it be a super idea to make it look like this? Super Home Improvements have been doing quality extensions throughout Melbourne for the past 16 years. They'll design and build your super extension. Phone for a consultant to call and give you a no-obligation fixed-price quote. Prices have never been more competitive.
Our volume pricing, combined with current low interest rates, means that the time to build an extension is now.
Super Home Improvements for quality workmanship. 458 1666.
Always the last to know how you're feeling, the last to know.
With the rock critics already raving, Scotland's Delamitri deliver one of the best albums of the year. Change Everything, out now.
All right, pick up your skis. It's going to be great fun.
If you insulate your home this winter, Energy Victoria calculates you'll save up to 40% on your heating bills. By getting your insulation from Mitre 10, you'll save even more. Because at Mitre 10, Bradford R2.5 insulation bats are just $21.95 per half square pack. That's right, just $21.95. And for every 10 squares you purchase, Mitre 10 will give you $40 cash back. So to insulate your home,
You can ask Mitre 10, they've got the lot.
just ask Mitre 10.
Never before seen material in the special edition of Steven Spielberg's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, starring Bob Hoskins, 8:30 Wednesday on 7.
Well, that just about takes us out for this week. Before we go, though, Brian Smith has rejoined me. And Brian, history in the making as far as international basketball is concerned.
Well, it certainly is, Sandy. Just in on the cables, the Commonwealth of Independent States and Croatia have both qualified for an historic first appearance in the Olympics after today's play at the European Qualifying Championship. So history in the making there. Also history in the making with Magic Johnson, who says he's going to assess after Barcelona exactly whether he'll continue with his career.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how the dream team goes first. They've got to get the medal first. Everyone at the moment, I think, is just giving it to them.
That's right. They're in a no-win, aren't they? I mean, if they don't win, they...
Exactly right.
History.
Yeah. A bit of drama at Warringah as far as the swimming's concerned.
Well, that's right. Karen Van Woerdum, who's appearing or picked for our Australian team for the 100 metres freestyle just a few minutes ago at Warringah in Sydney, has missed out on the final. She is 9th fastest in this morning's heats, so certainly a shock for Karen Van Woerdum. We were looking at her as a great chance in Barcelona, 9th fastest at Warringah.
Don Talbot, I was talking to him this morning and he had this good feeling about the team. He might have done a little bit more work to do there.
Well, that's right. She finished behind Susan O'Neill and Lisa Curry.
All right. Thank you for that,
Karen
Brian.
Van Wertham.
And, of course, another news briefly, Greg Norman takes a one-stroke lead in the final round of the Western Open.
Western Open, let's hope he can win it.
And for those who had very, very late nights, Steffi Graf defeated Monica Seles.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian.
Ivanisevic and Agassi in the final tonight.
You're a good man. Thank you for that. Let's quickly check what else is happening as we look at our calendar for the week. Sydney and Fitzroy this afternoon, 2 through until 5. On Tuesday night, State of Origin. South Australia plays Victoria, and that should be a beauty between those two states at 8:30. Rugby League Test, Australia Papua New Guinea, July 15. That is on the Wednesday. And that just about takes us out for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Farewell for now from Sportsworld.